Do you believe in God? This question has fascinated humanity for millennia and is one of the most explored topics in philosophy, religion, and science. Curiosity about what goes beyond the tangible drives many to investigate deeper truths, and among them, Elon Musk stands out as a thinker who combines science and philosophical speculation. Known for his interest in the big questions of the universe, Musk has recently shown a particular fascination with early Christian writings, some of which have been reportedly excluded from the canonical tradition of the Bible. But what led him to explore this theme, and what mysteries might these lost texts hide? Before proceeding, I ask you all to subscribe and comment with your opinion, or simply with an AMN. Let's get back to us. The Bible, the sacred text of the Christian faith, is the result of a long process of collection and selection of writings. Historians believe that the first Christian texts were written in the decades following the death of Jesus. St. Paul, for example, wrote numerous letters addressed to the early Christian communities, many of which were included in the New Testament. However, the process of canonization has been anything but straightforward. The early Christian community was faced with a significant mass of texts, some attributed directly to the apostles, others created by groups or individuals with different intentions. Among these texts stood out the Gospel of Thomas, the Epistle of Barnabas, and the Book of Enoch, many of which were later excluded from the Bible. The need to define an official canon emerged early to avoid doctrinal divisions and ensure theological coherence. One of the first attempts to classify Christian texts was made by Eusebius of Caesarea, a 4th century historian and bishop. Eusebius divided the books into 3 categories. Canonical, that is, universally accepted by the Church. Contested, accepted only by some communities or with reservations. Spurious, considered inauthentic or heretical. This division allowed us to establish a first selection criterion. Later, St. Jerome contributed decisively to the diffusion of the Bible through his translation into Latin, known as the Vulgate. Thanks to him, many of the sacred texts were organized and made accessible to the cultured public of the time. However, many manuscripts were lost, especially during the persecutions of Christians under Roman emperors such as Nero and Diocletian. Despite this, some texts were hidden and only rediscovered centuries later, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls. A crucial moment in the formation of the biblical canon was the rise to power of Constantine, the first Christian emperor. After his conversion, he legalized Christianity with the Edict of Milan in 313 AD and convened the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. This meeting, one of the most important in the history of Christianity, had the aim of resolving theological disputes and establishing a unitary doctrine. Among the many decisions made at the council, the definition of the biblical canon stood out. However, it is important to note that the selection process did not end there. It took almost a century before the definitive canon was formally accepted by the entire Church. During this period, texts considered spurious, such as the Gospel of Mary or the Gospel of Peter, were definitively excluded. After the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, monasteries became the main custodians of knowledge. Copyist monks, with infinite patience, transcribed the sacred texts by hand, decorating them with miniatures and ensuring their survival. This work was instrumental in preserving not only the Bible, but also numerous other ancient documents. Among the monasteries most famous for their contribution to the preservation of texts are those of St. Gallen, Switzerland, and Monte Cassino, Italy. These centers not only protected manuscripts from oblivion, but also served as places of study and reflection. In the 16th century, Martin Luther began the Protestant Reformation, criticizing the Catholic Church for corrupting the purity of the biblical message with unscriptural traditions. Luther translated the Bible into German, making it accessible to a wider audience. However, his version excluded the deuterocanonical books, which Protestants considered apocryphal. This led to a split in Christianity. Catholics continued to include the deuterocanonical books in the Bible, while Protestants relegated them to a separate section or excluded them altogether. This difference persists today and fuels debate over which books can be considered authentically inspired. One of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century was that of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovered in 1947 in a series of caves near Qumran, these manuscripts date back over 2,000 years and contained copies of nearly all the books of the Old Testament except Esther. These scrolls have offered valuable confirmation of the fidelity of modern biblical texts, with minimal differences from current versions. However, they also include texts considered deuterocanonical, suggesting that many of these books were considered sacred by the ancient Jews. This has reignited debate over the original composition of the Bible and which texts should be included in the canon. In addition to the deuterocanonical books, there is a vast apocryphal literature, often associated with Gnostic movements. Among these, the Gospel of Thomas is perhaps the best known. Composed of a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus, this text presents a vision of faith very different from the canonical one, emphasizing interior knowledge rather than salvation through faith. Other texts, such as the Gospel of Mary and the Gospel of Judas, offer alternative perspectives on key figures in early Christianity. However, most scholars consider these writings to be inauthentic, as they often conflict with the canonical Gospels. In addition to their religious significance, biblical texts have had a huge cultural and artistic impact. Paintings, sculptures, music, and literature have been inspired by the stories and characters of the Bible for centuries. For example, Michelangelo immortalized biblical scenes in the Sistine Chapel, while authors such as Dante and Milton constructed entire epic poems based on biblical themes. Apocryphal texts have also had their influence. Numerous artists and writers have drawn inspiration from these lesser-known tales, creating works that explore the boundaries between orthodoxy and heresy. This demonstrates how pervasive the impact of the Bible and its associated texts has been, influencing not only religion but also the arts and culture more broadly. With the advent of technology, the study of biblical texts has reached new levels of precision. High-resolution scanners, multispectral imaging, and artificial intelligence now allow us to analyze ancient manuscripts without damaging them. These technologies have made it possible to recover texts that are hidden or illegible to the naked eye, contributing to a more complete understanding of the origins and variants of the Bible. One example is the Codex Sinaiticus project, which digitized one of the oldest manuscripts of the Bible, making it accessible to scholars around the world. These developments are paving the way for a new era in the study of sacred texts, in which technological analysis is combined with traditional historical research. The Bible is not just a sacred text, but a document that reflects a complex history of faith, conflict, and cultural transformation. From the creation of the canon to the exclusion of apocryphal writings, each stage of its development offers us a unique glimpse into the challenges faced by early Christian communities. Elon Musk's curiosity about these topics highlights the importance of continuing to explore the origins of our civilization. Whether it is accepting the traditional canon or including previously ignored texts, the debate over the composition of the Bible reminds us that the search for truth is a never-ending journey.